Bet you didn't think you'd see me again. I'll introduce myself in a minute. What I'm about to show you is going to completely change your life. So if you don't want your life to be completely changed, just click off now. Seriously, you will not need drugs. If you succeed, you will not be able to go back. You'll be able to mess with friends, take your relationships to new heights, and connect with strangers like never before. However, if you use these tools to take advantage of people, they will turn against you almost immediately. So it's best just to not learn this at all if you want to succeed in business, law, politics, or any field where lying constantly is advantageous. In fact, that's why you don't know this, because they don't, and there's no incentive to teach it. Welcome to the bicameral mind. Where's your spooge, noobs? It is Wednesday, my dudes. It's the Hackarchist, back to hack minds and help you unlock space-time. What is the bicameral mind? Back before monotheism, people had voices in their heads. They still do, they just assume it's one of three things. Themselves, God's messengers, or Satan/the demiurge. Freud simplified this to the id, Satan, the ego, the inner monologue, and the superego, God's messengers. What if I told you there was no force of supreme good or evil, and there could be an infinite number of different consciousnesses within your own thoughts? Sometimes you might be saying the same words someone else's, completely out of context at the same time. What if it went further and I said, for others, it wasn't the same time, but you still said them in the same way? That'd be freaky, right? Because who's leading the charge? And what do these words mean if they are in a completely different context? Or what if it's a different language, but the same thought? Does that mean we are one? When the Rockettes kick in unison, are they human? Or are they dancer? Or, as the Queen of Pillows would say, dancers. Welcome to Brain Hacking, and we start with our own. 5 minutes a day is all it takes, and you can do it before bed. Start with ohms. Long, drawn out. The goal here being to make so much noise in your head you can't hear anything else. And you can do this out loud or in your head. If you do it out loud, you'll notice some things. One, there are almost endless possibilities. You can go higher, you can go lower, you can go longer or shorter. Maybe you can't go as long as you want or as loud as you want. You might be inclined to practice doing those things, which is fine. A lot of fun. Especially if you have some meditation music, feels very shamanistic. And you'll start to want to do this in a room full of people because that would sound crazy. Here's a point on the decision tree. To focus into your body or connect with all of those who reach that state. And try to discover if you can hear others beyond your own current environment. Remember, at any point you can return to your surroundings. Stand up, stretch, and have a glass of water. Alright. Now we've done the external bit. Let's try for the internal. This helps for going to sleep. Take the sounds you heard while doing the vocal ohms and fill your head with them. Once they are all you can hear, start to lower the volume. When I was a kid, I would do this with songs I knew instead of ohms, but I find the brain tends to remix faster than it stays on track, and that can get chaotic really quickly. Ohms are pretty consistent, and there's a fixed point to return to. The bear doesn't splash around while catching salmon. It waits for them to jump out of the river. So once you're on your rock, in the middle of the psychic channels, you're going to want to lower the volume until you start to hear static. If you typically have a fan on, keep it on. Otherwise, your ears will start ringing. And that will be more distracting than the fan, because that ear ringing is your ears muting the fan, and now your ears are all like, where's the fan? I can't get the sound profile back I'm used to, so turn the fan back on. So fan or no fan, let the ohms become static and see if a thought emerges. If so, ask who said that. Typically, it will respond with, "I'm you, obviously," but keep in mind, you don't know their voice, so your brain might make it sound like you. Ask, "Who is me?" Or, "Who do you conceive of you to be?" Anything that doesn't sound like anyone you know. If the inner monologue responds with your name and you feel in control of the response, you're probably talking to yourself. If the voice responds with, "Well, me is," then back to static, and then back to obviously, then back to the original thought, you've got yourself a salmon. This is where things get really fun. Listen to the thought. Let it run wild in your head, but keep in mind it's not something you think yet. Just a thought you're entertaining. You haven't agreed or dismissed it yet. Let your brain become an external GPU for them. Now set an intention. Do you agree with this thought? If yes, a simple, "That feels good, that feels right. Good on you for having those thoughts," is usually enough to make it go away. If you ask questions, they might leave on their own because you broke their train of thought. Maybe not. If you disagree, you need to learn how to think quick. These mental battles will destroy you and keep you up all night long. They don't even need to know you at all, because your brain will fill in their bad intentions with your memories and logic and knowledge. If you let someone else make your head a nightmare, it will be your nightmare, not theirs. You can try and return to the ohms, you can try to return to empty. Sometimes it's best just to work it out, and the fastest way to do that is with a lot of questions, making it seem like the thought is incredibly stupid. Keep in mind, we are only talking about verbal thought. If you effectively split screen, you can animate battles with people. I was driving home and getting griefed in the mind, so I turned into this tentacle beast and started smashing people into each other. And come home to post about some psychic character being a giant tentacle monster. So there is some confirmation bias there. I knew a friend who told me about a dream of her chained up in a basement getting eaten out by a chihuahua, and then I had the same dream and thought, "Am I a chihuahua right now?" Sure enough, I was. Years later, I was living in my Grammy's basement, and that girl passed out on acid while I was wired. But obviously, we knew that basement, her and I don't mix. Chihuahua or no. So I listened to Tiny Tim and wrote poetry. Tried to climb into the bed as it was mine, and we both had clothes on, but best to respect boundaries. I just got out. I didn't really feel any communication psychically going on with her, but still, weird times. Next time we planned on taking acid, I got arrested for drugs I had done the previous week. Drugs don't hack your brain, but they may get you to do these techniques by accident. Just so we're clear, the drugs didn't cause this. Curiosity did. I sought to find the state of mind without drugs. Turns out people focus way too much on your mental state if you describe these events as real. So you smoke pot and you aren't getting fucked up, but people think it's the drugs. And maybe it is a little bit. We'll cross that road when I can't pay rent in 10 days or so. I'd like to end on a note about magic and money. The magic of getting money is giving people the product they paid for. Most magicians can suss out who wants the truth and who wants to be comforted. I'm trying to give this knowledge to the people so they can learn to build networks of mental trust. You'd be surprised at what 3 or 4 heads can accomplish when they trust each other. And I am asking you to trust me, and I am asking for your money. And I am asking that if you carry these practices, you'll trust I am not trying to mislead you. So as a final note, I would like to say something about therapy. I have a video about how BetterHelp could be used to gather blackmail on a mass scale. I will not retract that. I am very concerned for a place that tracks secrets to names. That can be done anonymously. I am, however, for therapy. If you know a person who has the tools to help people live the kinds of lives they want to lead by listening and offer medicine and healthy thought patterns, that's incredibly valuable. If you give me money, you will not be enabling a God complex. I do not want a cult, followers, or to spend time with most of you. I'm saying here is a beach, entertain yourselves. Your minds are not your own, and they won't be until you make them that way. And if you don't know how to build up your house, you'll never close the door. And if your door has 13 gate locks on it because you keep leaving your pipe in the car after another trip to Harbor Freight, consider buying a 2-foot screwdriver and see if it can remove the earwax from both sides at the same time. You 5-day-old pit stain having skid marks, no belt waste of an eyeline. You're basically horses that should be melted into glue. But I'd actually rather you huff that, fuck faces. Let's go Branson.